Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dick Feeney, and before I introduce the gentleman who will be coordinating today's guests and speakers, I would like to tell you a quick story that in some fashion takes Robert, the Las Vegas entertainer, his history full circle. About 31 years ago, I came to Las Vegas, and I was phasing out of being an entertainer into the producing world. I was a young producer, and of course I wanted to see all the shows and all the headliners, and I went through the trade magazines, and I saw Follies and Jubilee, all the shows, and then I saw the list of headliners: Tom Jones, Dolly Parton, Frank Sinatra, and Robert Allen. And I didn't know who Robert Allen was. I knew all the others. So as the weeks went on, I kept checking the trades, and I kept seeing this Robert Allen headlining at the Vegas World Casino. And I thought to myself, this guy must be somebody special. I mean, it's not even in for a week. This guy's got an extended run in Las Vegas at a major strip property. I've got to go find out what's going on. So I made my way down to Vegas World, which happens to be this property. And I went into the casino, and there was about 300 people lined up all the way across the casino from what looked like the opening of the showroom. So I walked down to what appeared to be the ticketing booth. It was actually a players club, and I said, can I get a ticket to the show? And she said, yeah. I said, can I buy it? Where do I buy it? Here? And she says, you want to buy a ticket? I said, yeah. And she said, well, we're sort of sold out. You know, it's like 300 people, but they could probably squeeze you in if you want to buy a ticket. And I said, yeah, I'll buy a ticket. How much is it? She says, it's $1. So I got to the end of the line. I bought the ticket. Everybody went in. When I got to the front door, there was a gal, maitre d', and she said, we're out of seats. I said, but I bought a ticket. So she says, okay. She says, well, let me grab a chair if you don't mind sitting in the back. I said, sure. So she sat me, closed the curtain. She made her way up to the stage, and she brought out a projection screen. She set it all up, and then she went up to the sound and light booth and started the show. So she was the maitre d', the stagehand, and the sound and light person. And of course, I'm trying to calculate all this: 300 people, $1 a head, 300 a show. You know, I'm trying to figure out the marketing and what's going on. And then they started a quick slideshow of Robert in all sorts of crazy get-ups. I mean, he had the scuba gear on, and he had 2 showgirls. He had a guitar, and it was great stuff. It was so good. They took the screen away, and he came out, and for about 50 minutes, he just was incredible. It's the first time I heard the gambling jokes and how hot it is in Vegas jokes. And the crowd just loved him, all 300 people. And then he brought out the guitar, and it was just fabulous. So when I left, I stopped at the bar for a drink, and sure enough, he comes walking by, so I invited him over and had a drink with him. And that started, as they say in the movie, the beginning of a long friendship. And it was 30 years, and this guy did everything. Entertainer, entrepreneur, businessman. I learned so much from Robert Allen about everything in this town, even real estate. He was the go-to guy. He was the guy that was there for everybody. One of the nicest, one of the most humble, and one of the greatest people I've ever been able to call a friend. And it's only fitting that we're back here, Robert's back here at Vegas World for his last show. Right now, I'd like to bring out Mr. Adam Flowers, and he's going to bring out all the speakers and conduct the rest of the afternoon. Thank you, and thanks for coming, everyone. Adam? Go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adam Flowers. On behalf of Robert's family, thank you all for attending today. Traditionally, this is a somber occasion, but I think Robert would want us to be more of a celebratory afternoon because his life was full of fun, joy, and laughter. Those of you who knew him well, you were fortunate in having such a friend. I know I was. Robert was a man of many talents, as Dick said, more than one man ought to have. He even performed at Vegas World here at this property. He met many people during his journey through life, and today we're going to invite several of them to reflect their association with Robert. I met him when I moved to Las Vegas 11 years ago. He gave me he gave me my first job. It was a tiny little theater inside the Greek Isle. I've seen postcards that were bigger than the stage that this thing was. But it was a show. My proudest moment, he used to come into the theater and I emceed the show, and he used to sit there and watch. And every night, he would come backstage and he would say, "Do it this way, say it that way, walk over there, make the table float like this." It was the crappiest floating table. It couldn't have been built any cheaper. So one day after a few months, I remember he walked in after the show backstage and he said, "You owned it. You finally owned it. Keep doing it that way." And I was really proud. During that time, we built a solid friendship. I learned a lot from him. He was a wonderful mentor toward me. Words fail me in trying to describe this man. So let Robert speak for himself. I read for you now words from his own book. The title of the book is JFDI. That stands for Just Do It. It's the only person I know that would have put that word on the title of his book. My name is Robert George Allen. So far during my ride on the planet Earth, I've spent my time as a lead guitarist, vocalist, stage magician, stand-up comedian, actor, hypnotist, real estate investor, motivational speaker, entertainment producer, entrepreneur, and now author. I'm married to the girl of my dreams and have 2 beautiful and successful daughters. Over the years, I've performed in over 25 shows on the famous Las Vegas Strip, and I've appeared in numerous television shows and several major motion pictures. I've also traveled the globe and live a lifestyle that many people only dream about. Now, here's the best part. At the tender age of 66, I'm just getting started. Sound like I'm bragging? You're right, I am. And I'm proud of who I've become and what I've accomplished. When I saw something I wanted, I grabbed it with both hands and I didn't let go until it was mine. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Robert Allen. Robert's mother is here, and we put something together special just for you. I have a friend in Laughlin, Father Charlie, dear friend. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it here today because he has Mass. So, Anne, this is especially for you.
I want a person dies, it's almost impossible for anyone to say anything that can really take away the sadness that a family, friends, and neighbors feel. There are some things that I found over the years can be helpful, and I'd like to offer these. I'd like to offer them to Robert's family, particularly his mom, Anne, for his wife and children, and for those who knew him well. It's a reading from an Old Testament book called Ecclesiastes. There's a time for everything, and a time for every purpose under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot the plant, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to be far from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I know there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. I like to think that the words of that reading are familiar to a lot of people, particularly of my generation, not because they ever picked up the book of Ecclesiastes and read it, but because they remember an old song, Turn, 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 by a little group known as the Byrds. And what people didn't realize is every word in that song, there's a time for everything, a time for every purpose under the heavens, is right out of the Bible. So maybe the popularity of that song in the early 1970s was not so much because of the melody, but because the words are timeless, and the words are God's message to us. No matter what's happening in the world, in the communities, in our own families, in our own lives, God is still the one in charge, no matter what, and that's good to hold on to. When a person dies, we hold on to two particular gifts of God. One of those gifts is the gift of faith. We gather here today for Robert because we really believe that there's more to life than the days and years we get here, whether they be few or many. We really believe that this is a part of life, not all of it. And Robert is now experiencing more of it than we are right now. We pray that that gift of faith can sustain us. And the second gift is the wonderful gift of memory. God, because he's good, lets us remember our names, our addresses, our phone numbers, but most of all, the people who have made an impression on our lives. And so today, many memories of Robert run around this room. Many memories of Robert that are shared by all of us, and some of them that are shared by only a few. Some go back decades, as they will for his family, and for his mother in particular. Some go back only a few months or weeks. Whatever those memories, keep them alive and don't ever hesitate to share them. On your way out, there's a few bowls of these very clear glass stones. I invite everyone when you're leaving to please pick one up and take it home with you. They're smooth, they're soft, they will not cut your cloth and your clothing. Put them in your pocket when you get home. Maybe place it on your windowsill, place it on your car's dashboard. Place it there and remember that you were here for Robert and his family. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord. Let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Father Charlie. To begin this list of speakers this afternoon, I feel it's appropriate to introduce to you Robert's brother, Al Robinson.
What are you laughing about?
It's all yours.
Okay. Bear with me. I've never been in front of an audience before. Okay. There was a 7-year difference between my brother Robert and myself. That was difficult for us when we were young, but in the course of time, the gap understandably narrowed a bit. I soon discovered that it was pretty cool having an older brother. He introduced me to a world of interesting things that would not have been available to me without him. And I can honestly say that I would not have spent my entire life in the entertainment business had it not been for Robert. He taught me the difference between entertaining and just singing and playing music. That difference still serves me well today. My brother also gave me the great gift of introducing me to artists that I wasn't even aware of at the time of my life. Musicians like Jimmy Smith, Wes Montgomery, Frank Zappa, Brazil 66, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, just to name a few. Opening that door for me gave me a whole new perception of music and just how much could be accomplished. He was also generous enough to give his 10-year-old brother the opportunity to join him on stage and sing with his band, my first professional entrance into the music business. By the way, for some of you who only knew him from his comedy shows and his tours, I have to tell you, he was an amazing guitarist in those days, so much so that when the big thing, later known as CTA and finally Chicago, was being formed, Robert was offered a job with them. He turned down the offer, however, saying, "You guys are never going to make any money with all those players. I'm putting a show band together." Who could know, you know? We talked about that offer years later, and he told me he had no regrets about his decision. And so he put that band together. It was called The Sideshow. Show bands were coming into their own in the early 70s, and Robert was on the ground floor. I joined the group in 1971. Yes, we finally get to work together. It was a life-changing experience for me, working showrooms and traveling all over this country. Robert being the consummate businessman, and me showing up for rehearsals, ever the hippie in those days, in an American flag t-shirt. It drove him crazy. "What are you doing dressed like that? Dress well and get respect." I learned a lot from Big Brother. Okay, so for those of you wondering about our last names, here goes. People trying to make it in show business often change their surnames. For instance, actor Michael Keaton's real last name is Douglas, so for obvious reasons he changed it. Robert and I were trying to be clever and decided to use my first name as his last name, and vice versa, since Glenn Campbell had recently found success with ours. In the late 70s, after moving back to Chicago, I changed my last name one more time to Robinson. Another story, another time. So there you have it, name mystery solved. Fortunately, my brother and I met with each other shortly before he passed. We spoke about all the stories we were both able to share with people, and of all the experiences that we have lived through, and just how lucky we were. Sorry. Some people live to a grand old age and never really make the most out of their lives. Robert, you certainly did, and made every second count. I love and miss you, brother. On behalf of his wonderful wife, Deborah, my wonderful wife, Tammy, and the rest of our family, we thank you all for being here and celebrating Robert's life with us. Oh, just one more thing. Robert, I know you're listening. Cubs win. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. That was wonderful. A few years back, Robert he staged a party at his house to celebrate his 50 years in showbiz, and he invited many guests. I'm sure many of you were there. Robert was even a guest performer at his own party. He played music, sang, did magic, made us laugh. These are some of the highlights from that party.
Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 50 years in show business, please welcome Mr. Robert Allen.
T-shirt, white shoes, and I don't know where I'm going to. Brown shoes, tight hat, and I ain't worried 'cause I want to fast. They come running just as fast as they can. Everybody's racing about the sharpest man. You know, I thought tonight it'd just be fun to talk about how this all started and sing some songs that had some special meaning to me. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. It's about 1960. I'm in high school. I just started high school. I had been practicing the guitar for about a year. Well, the Everly Brothers were very popular at that time. And so I said, well, you know, they sing harmony. How are we going to learn that? So we went to my mother, who was a singer for many years, and she taught Nick and I how to sing harmony. And the Bobnicks, can you believe this name? Bobnicks were born. And yeah, well, it was very creative. Bob and Nick, what the hell? There's a name for a band.
Who could know?
Yeah, who would know? But right now we're going to sing, we actually learned 3 Everly Brothers songs, and this is one of them. You ready? I want you to know that since you walked out on me, I'm so lonesome every day. I want you to know that since you walked out on me, nothing seems to be the same old way. I was probably going into my senior year, and I had gone with this young lady named Laura for the whole 3 years of high school. And one day she said to me, "It's over." I said, "Oh my God, it's over? What do you mean it's over?" So I was laying in bed and the alarm clock came on the radio, and this guy was singing a song, and I said, "Man, this guy knows what I'm feeling. He's feeling my pain. He's talking about me." And he became a huge star, and I was never anything to look at. But the guy had a voice that just was unbelievable. And I'd like to do one of his songs for you right now. I love you even more than I did before. But darling, what can I do? 'Cause you don't love me, and I'll always be yes, now that you're gone, and from this moment on, I'll be crying, 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 I'm crying. Well, I actually had a chance to open for them years ago when they were the Four Seasons, but Frankie Valli decided to do something on his own, and I loved it, and I'm going to sing it for you now, okay? I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I'll need you, baby, to warm the lonely night. I love you, baby, trust in me when I say, oh, pretty baby, don't let me down, I pray. Oh, pretty baby, now that I've found you, stay and let me love you, baby, let me love you. This is one of the all-time best-selling bands of all time. And first time I heard him, I went crazy. Al liked him too. We loved him immediately. By the way, it's my brother Al. My love, whenever I was insecure, you built me up and made me sure. You gave my pride back to me. Precious friend, with you I'll always... Okay, when I was first went on the road, my father had this talk with me. My mom probably, yeah. He said, "Don't do it, man." Get out. He said, "Okay, now you're going on the road. And you got to remember, you're 18. I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, some of those girls in these places are not going to be 18. It's called jailbait." I said, "Jailbait? What the hell is jailbait?" You know? Well, I didn't really understand it at first, but then I heard this song, and it pretty much says it all. Young girl, get out of my mind. My love for you is a way out of line. Better run, girl. You're much too young, girl.
tell you the story. A lot of people know that I do magic, and people say, well, how did you start doing that? You know, you're a musician, you know. We had a bass player back in about 1966, 67, and every night he'd walk out of these clubs with a beautiful girl. I said, how the hell is he doing? He's not that good looking, he's kind of kooky, really. But the guy leaves with these really fine looking ladies. So I start following him around the club. He's doing card tricks, little balls and cups and stuff. And turns out his father owns a magic shop in Hammond, Indiana. So there was a guy named Delia Bluey and a guy named Roger Siegel, and they start teaching me magic tricks. And I started meeting girls. And I want to show you that it still works. You believe me? Sure. All right, let's see. I need 2 girls to help me. How about you 2? Would you like to see some magic? Come on up here. Come on up. Just stand over here. First of all, what's your name? Vanessa. Okay, and your name? What is it?
Isabel.
Isabel. You look familiar to me. These are my grandkids, Vanessa, Isabel. See, I told you I could pick up girls with magic tricks anytime I want. I'm going to show you these cards, and I just want you to say stop, and we'll let you pick any card you want, okay? Just anytime. Right here? That's the one you want? All right. So you hold these. Now, if you'll notice, I have 2 holders here, and I put a giant red card in one of the holders, both holders actually, and this is a blue card. Now, which one do you want me to choose? The right one here or the left? Which left? That left or the other left? This one? Okay. So I'm going to put the blue card inside next to mine, okay? You'll hold that again. Okay, just hold on to that one. We're going to do it again. Let's see. Yeah, how about you over here, ma'am? What's your name?
Donna.
What is it? Donna? Okay, same thing. Just tell me when to stop any cards you like.
Yeah.
This one? That's the one you want. Okay. You hold on to these. All right? Take this. We're going to put that inside. Right there. Okay. Hold on to that. All right, now, we'll put these back. Now, Lynn, you picked a card. And we put it over here. Okay. So, what was the card? 4 of diamonds. Okay. So, you hold on to that. All right, here's the cards. I have a 4 of diamonds that you picked. Mine was a red card. Now, Donna, you had a card, and it was what?
5 of spades.
5 of spades. All right. So it was blue.
Yes.
There it is, right?
Yes.
Here's my red card. Give a nice round of applause for my granddaughter. Let's hear it for her. I like the way you sparkling ear and sway against your skin, oh so brown. And I wanna sleep with you in the desert tonight, with a million stars on the ground. And I got a peaceful, easy feeling, and I know you won't let me down, 'cause I'm already standing on the ground. How you doing, Siegfried? Good to see you.
I'm very well, thank you. You always look the same. You never changes.
That's because I've been dead for 40 years.
Maybe you should.
I see you wore one of your relaxed outfits. This is very nice.
Thank you. Michael's, eat your heart out.
Is Mike here? Where's Mike? Yeah, oh, he's in the back there. There he is. Hi, Mike. That's the first time I've seen a suit louder than what you wear. That's amazing.
Well, you know, I found it as I was coming out of the closet this morning.
Oh, that's true. You have a large closet.
Well, you know, Robert and I are very good friends.
Not that close.
Friends for at least 50 years. I mean, the man is the best entertainer in the world in his price range.
Thank you very much. Remind me never to work with your tigers. I got
He is also a great entrepreneur. He has a bus tour for everything.
I have a bus tour to your closet. That's next week.
Robert, this is from all of us who work with you. We normally would say work for you, but we don't feel that way. We work with you. This is a workaholic plaque to Robert George Allen. And let me read it to you. This is from all of us. This is from Mary and Reuben and Bob and Tina and Levi and myself, not Bill. Robert George Allen, your loyalty, hard work, and creative mind ensures that we can always count on you. You make routine chores into a challenge and build team spirit. Because your sense of humor, work is always enjoyable. You're not only encouraging and supportive, but also inspiring and a lot of fun. This is from all of us who work on your tours.
Thank you, Joe. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. And of course, the lady who got me into show business, I mean it, I never would have ever done this. I had no clue. I was going to be an architect. I don't know what the hell happened. And it was my mom. She said, you sing, I want you to sing on stage. So there she is, stand up, Mom. My mom will be 90 years young in December. And when I tell you she can still sing, she can. She really does. She still do Minnie Riperton stuff, and I'm not kidding you, she can still do it. Very nice. Thanks, Mom. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Back in the 60s, I had the pleasure of having a band that worked in a place called the Scotch Mist on Rush Street. And it was kind of fun because we were like the house band, and then they brought in all these like stars to play. So we got to work with a lot of different people, you know, Jerry Lee Lewis and oh my God, Ray Brand and Bobby Wick and all kinds of really cool people. And then one week, this wild group came in, and they tore up the place. I was just mesmerized by them. And the group was called the Treniers. You all remember the Treniers? Yeah. And they had a saxophone player, and him and I became good buddies, and I just loved him. And those days we used to drink more than water, right? And he's 90 years young. He's got his saxophone, and I'd love him to come up here and join me. Don, are you here? Where are you, Don? Ladies and gentlemen, Don Hill, one of the original members of the great Treniers. I'll find one on that too. I'll throw off my sorrow, beg, steal, or borrow my share of laughter. With you I could learn to, with you on a new day. But who can I turn to if you turn you might make my magic stick.
Blow, Daddy, blow.
I was booked with my band into a place called the Holiday Ballroom in Chicago. And the stars of the show that night were a group called Jay and the Americas. You remember them? And I had never heard Jay Black before, and let me tell you something. The minute I heard him, I wanted to join the band. I loved him. I just found out the other day that the keyboard player for that band, for a while, was none other than Donald Fagen from...
Yeah, after the hits, actually Steely Dan was...
Steely Dan, can you believe that? Thanks, let's hear it for Don Hill one more time. Give Don a round of applause. Caro mio, why must we say goodbye each time we part? My heart wants to die. Coming here by prayer, caro mia fair, I'll be your love till the end of us. Caro mia mine, caro mia mine, caro mia mine, caro mia mine, must we say goodbye each time we part?
Robert, it was always good to hear you play and sing. We just saw in that video, we saw him perform a magic trick with his granddaughters. And he loved doing magic. He talked about in that video about a guy in the band that was a magician back when he was a kid, and that's what got him into magic. And it's funny because that magic shop that guy owned was in Hammond, Indiana, as he said, and I grew up there, and that was the first magic shop that I went to. So the guy who used to play in the band with taught me magic when it's just strange how small the world is. It's customary, though, among the International Brotherhood of magicians, when a brother passes, we present a ceremony. So to conduct the ceremony this afternoon, this is Mike Michaels.
Hey, what do you say?
Hey.
Sorry, my hands are cold. I'm really nervous. I don't know why they would offer the ceremony to me. As you know, I don't speak on stage, and there's a reason for that, because I say a lot of stuff and offend a lot of people. So, cocktails are coming. She's coming. You're all right. The way I met Robert, I moved to Las Vegas 1988 or 89. I thought I was a magician. I get here. These are real acts. I'm just a goofy kid with a Fiero. So I had somehow gotten managed by Sal Murillo. No, don't leave. Don't leave. He might be here. He owes me $10. So, no. Sal was my manager. And I hadn't worked a real gig yet. So when you're with Sal's management, the job of his thing was to take the magician who had a good idea. I didn't have an act, but I had a good idea of what I was working towards, and guide them basically up as fast as you can go. So the problem is you can't go out and do birthday parties. You kind of have to let him get the jobs for you. And so I go like 7 months. I'm delivering pizzas. I'm doing all this stuff as he's guiding my career. Now, I didn't know, because I was a kid, that was the right thing to do, and it worked out great for me. During the time, he introduced me to Robert. So now, I see Robert, he's in the sign of Vegas world, and basically Robert has me help with some construction next to Deborah's financial business. He's got some building there, and he's remodeling it, so he asked me to help, and I got some, money for it, and I could ask him real questions. Now, what I didn't know was, basically, he was... I'm not supposed to cry yet. I got it written down. I'm supposed to cry in this other area here. Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm human. I'm not a robot. So, I would ask Robert questions. What's it like to get on stage, and how do you handle the lighting? How long's your lighting? What kind of magic do you do? What do you wear backstage? And are there showgirls? I would just ask these stupid questions. And he would basically set me right. He told me how to meet with agents and managers, and basically just be yourself. That's who you got to be. He said, if it's in you, it's going to come out, and you're going to know it. And there are acts that we see that don't have it, that still perform, and then there's acts that have it and perform. And I think his mentorship to me was to basically say, like Adam referred to as in the book, just freaking do it. And that's what I did. And so Robert is a great mentor to me. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here and ball in front of all of you. Okay, let's talk about the guitar. Oh, how embarrassing. Last Super Bowl, the story goes back, this is the guitar here. I did not build this guitar. My understanding is Robert and Deborah had been to a place where some people made some very nice custom artwork, and they commissioned this stainless steel guitar to be built, and the guy was doing it. I think it took a while, and then unfortunately, the guy passed away. The guitar was not finished. So they then got a hold of the son, and he welded some stuff and kind of finished it, and somehow they had it. Well, then they had it for several years. My understanding is they wanted to have it catch on fire and be out in a fire pit. So Robert says, how do we do that? And I said, I don't know, just give me the guitar, let me see what I can do. Well, that was last Super Bowl Sunday. So I thought, I put it in the corner and I stared at it for 4 months going, I don't know how to make it catch on fire. I make things catch on fire, but not on purpose. So another couple months go by, and I said, okay, what if I put on a pin? The bottom line is, Robert passed away before I could finish the guitar. Sorry. But I did finish it now. Does that give me any credit? So, basically, what we provided for Deborah is a stand, and she's actually able to put it in their fire pit. It does catch on fire all through here, but I thought it would be nice to put a plaque with it, to make it a little more, like a memorial. So why does my voice go really high when I start to cry? So I was asking Richard Faverty, Robert's done all these crazy things. Let's put all those crazy things on here. So Robert G. Allen, man of many talents, comedian, magician, mentalist, guitarist, author, SAG actor, producer, tour owner, hypnotist, mob historian, mentor, and ghost hunter. So, loving father, husband, and friend. So, Deborah, that's for you. I'll install it wherever you want to put it. I hope that works. Okay. Now, I've asked another magician named Danny Archer. Danny is one of Robert's business partners. He's very big in the name of magic. This is Danny here. Okay, so, jeez, I gotta take the box. Okay. It's a joke, we planned that. I get Danny, let's put it down somewhere. Hopefully it doesn't, okay, no, come back. Danny, yeah. Jump's not over. Okay. So this is a box here. Inside is a wand. Could you please hold that? Is that all right? Okay. This is why I've been asked to come up. Cocktail, she's coming. Today we are here to pay tribute to our brother in magic, Robert Allen. As a member of this great fraternity, he was linked in fellowship with magicians all over the world and those who were privileged to share his love, enthusiasm, and passion for magic. Magicians everywhere bow their heads in spirit and pay him respect. As magicians, we have a most uncanny bond as our love and magic pulls us together, perhaps unlike any other profession, avocation, or hobby. From the beginning of time, symbols have been used to represent various nations, cultures, and societies. To the magician, the magic wand is the symbol. While the wand itself has no magic of its own, when wielded by a magician, it comes to life to intrigue the eye and mystify the mind. We do something today that we consider very somber and genuine. We acknowledge that without the master to wield it, the wand ceases to have its illusion of strength and power. Magicians have lost a brother with the passing of Robert, and today we break this wand as yet another symbol, a symbol of passing. He has left this world with tremendous accomplishments and now has moved on to a world where he is resting where no shadows fall. Brother Robert, we will miss you. We are all blessed by your friendship and honored to have you shared in your enthusiasm of magic. The wand in story and symbol is an ancient conjuring representative to mystery. To the uninitiated, it is just a piece of wood. To our late member, it is a reminder of him, the enchantment and joy that this ancient art form brought to his life. This symbol was, for our departed member, an historic emblem, like the old illusion called the linking rings. It linked Robert with others like mind and heart in this vast magic fraternity. The passing of our brother extinguishes the wand's illusion of power in this world and continues with him into the eternal. It's a tough wand, by the way. It's starting to bend. Sorry, Rob. It's not a pretty thing to do. No, it's not a Harry Potter wand. For Robert, the magic of this earth is over, and now he discovers the magic and mystery of the beyond. May Robert rest in peace, and may his memories last long with those who enjoyed his love, his talent, and companionship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike, Danny. We're going to bring Danny back up in a few minutes, but first, a good portion of Robert's career was making people laugh, and this next segment is of him in command of the comedy.
All that gambling, you know, people gamble everywhere, and they gamble for everything. And you know they gamble at the airport, did you notice that? Yeah, the airport's filled with slot machines. And some people get off the plane, go to a slot machine, lose all their money, get back on the plane, never see Las Vegas. And don't you get tired of all that security checking at the airport? Isn't that a pain? Take your belt off, get the coins out of your pockets, isn't that a pain? Now, you know, I think it's time we got even with them. You know when they're doing that to you? Jump on that little conveyor belt, lay down and ask for a free chest x-ray. Now, why is it when you go to the airport, they always give you the last gate? Have you noticed that? Does anybody ever get gate one? Who the hell are they saving that damn thing for? You go to the airport, they walk you like 3 miles out some concourse. You get down to the last gate, you say, where's our restroom? They say, gate one. And I won't use a restroom on an airplane. I hate those things, don't you? Isn't it spooky in there? It's like a little outhouse in the air. Now, why won't they put a window in there? What do they think? Somebody's gonna look in?
I want to introduce a good friend of Robert's. He knew him for 27 years. He loved creating material with Robert. He performs, he creates, he even authored a play worthy of Broadway. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cliff Lawrence.
Thanks. We're here to celebrate the life of Robert Allen. Not his passing, but his life. Shit, I thought I was going to get through this. Just give me a second, I'll do it. I'll tell you I'm okay now. Okay, all right. I had a little Rodney save me there. You know I'm okay. I met Robert in 1989. I was doing a couple of lounge spots. I had just moved to town. I didn't really feel like working. My wife and I were building a house. We were going to take off for about a year. So I was doing guest spots around town. We pop around from lounge to lounge, which you could do at that time. You could pop around and get up in any spot in the lounge. So one night, I'm at the DI, and Robert comes up to me after I did a 5-minute guest spot, and he says, Cliff, I really liked you, man. He says, are you working anywhere? I said, no, not really. I'm just kind of, hanging out. He says, well, I think I can get you a job in Reno. I said, really? He says, yeah, there's an opening for a show in Reno, a spot for a comedian for a year. So he gets a producer by the name of Frederick Apcar to come in, and Frederick came in at Robert's request, and I got the job, and I was up in Reno co-headlining at Harris Hotel for a year, all because of Robert. Also, he got me a place to live, because I didn't know what the heck I was going to do in Reno. Harris wasn't giving me any room, so he got me a place to live. I lived at Sandy Hackett's house, Buddy Hackett's son, for a year. You remember Buddy Hackett, right? These two guys were walking down the street, see? Anyway, after I finished that gig for a year, Robert and I kind of toured together. We had a great time, and he had a great sense of humor. One day, I call up. We used to eat around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon because the show was always at 6, and we would get agita, if we ate too late before the show. So I call him up. I say, Bob. He didn't like, oh, by the way, I don't know if any people know this, but he didn't like to be called Bob. He wanted to be called Robert. So I called him Bob, and he called me asshole. So I guess he must have been talking to my wife. Anyway, I said, why don't you meet me downstairs for dinner? He says, I already ate. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I'm going to go down in about half an hour. He says, on second thought, he says, I'll meet you down there. He says, I'll have a little salad. So I get down there about a half hour later, and I come down, and he's sitting with a big plate of food on the table. I said, I thought you said you were going to have a little salad. He said, well, I am having a little salad. Little salad, little meat, little pasta, little potato, a big plate of food. And the hotel we were working at, he was, the girls that were there looked like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They had these really cute little outfits on. And it's one particular waitress that came over to us. He says to her, did anybody ever tell you look like Snow White? She says, no, nobody ever told me that, but that's really nice. He says, yeah, can I call you Snow? She says, sure, you can call me Snow. He says, Snow, how'd you like to see my dwarf? I had to be picked up off the floor. I was gone, completely gone. I cried for about half an hour. Also, I don't know if any of you ever at Robert and Deb's first house, but they had this great house. And it had something that I just thought was the coolest thing I ever saw. He had a toaster, and I talked to Deb about this many times. He had a toaster built in the wall that you would press a button, and the toaster would pop out of the wall. And I talked to him about that toaster for about 25 years. I always wanted that toaster. So on my 65th birthday, I saw the toaster online, on eBay. And it was up for bid. So I went, okay. So I bid on the toaster. I started off at $100. Then it went to $200, $300, $400. I finally found out I was bidding against Robert, and it cost me $450 for the toaster. He was trying to buy it for me for my birthday. And you know what? It's still in my attic. I haven't installed it yet. We wrote a couple of shows together. One show we wrote in particular, we were going to do a show called The Enlarged Prostate Tour. It starred me, Jimmy J.J. Walker, Robert, and Kathleen Dunbar, who's sitting there. And the first line that we came up with, Kathleen was supposed to walk out and say, hello, my name is Kathleen Dunbar, and my fucking prostate is killing me. So, I know, it still is. You also know that Robert had a ghost tour and a mob tour. About a year ago, he was looking for something kind of Christmassy for a mob tour. So him and I sat down for about 3 or 4 days, and this is what we wrote for his mob tour. It's all based on Towards the Night Before Christmas. There we go. Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, I just had some cannolis with my kids and my spouse. Then went down to the basement to wrap some kids' toys, and all of a sudden I heard a loud friggin' noise. So I ran to the roof with my baseball bat. Hey, I didn't know if it was a thief or a cat. Then what to my bloodshot eyes do appear but a big fat guy and a bunch of deer. Then all of a sudden he started to sing, "That's when I hit him, bada boom, bada bing." When he came to, he said he was this guy Claus. In my defense, I thought he was from the FBI. He said he was hurt too bad to deliver his toys, so I figured it would be a good job for me and my boys. I asked him what happened to his all-elf crew. He said he was being sued by the ACLU. Santa begged me to make me an offer. Santa begged me to take an offer that I couldn't refuse. He said to deliver all his toys except to the Jews. I turned and smacked Vinny with a really good whack because he was trying to steal old Santa's sack. Then I yelled to the reindeer, who took off in a flash. I figured it was a good night to make some quick cash. We started to fly up into the air. That's when Rudolph farted and he burnt my hair. The first place we stopped was an old folks' home. To tell you the truth, it looked like a big bag of bones. I recognized the stoolie there who was out on the lamb, so I figured I'd hit him with a big Christmas ham. Bada bing, bada bam. I got home by morning and delivered all the toys to all the little girls and all the little boys. So next year, don't forget to look in the sky, because I'll be helping Santa, because he's a made guy. Well, that's my story of joy and bliss. And if you don't believe it, hey, jingle this. Thanks a lot.
Before we, thanks so much, Cliff. Before we go any further, I want to take a quick commercial break. A few words from our sponsor today.
Hi, I'm Robert George Allen. Have you been to one of those free, nothing down real estate workshops only to find out they want to sell you a lot of books and tapes for $400, $500, or $600? Well, now for the low cost of $99, you can attend Get Rich America, my powerful all-day seminar. Not only will you learn how to buy real estate using little or nothing down, but I'll show you how to put $5,000 in your pocket every time you buy. You know, Las Vegas is one of the fastest growing real estate markets in the country, so why not get a piece of the action at Get Rich America? Get Rich America Seminar. For information, call 792-1198. 792-1198.
Stock market. You know, the Wild Jones average. I'll tell you that market's hot. Why, this week 3 blue chips turned red. I know one guy who's taking in about $3,000 a day in the market. He's a clerk at 7-Eleven. Everyone's talking stock market, stock market. Why, the other night I came home and found my girl with another man. I said, what's this? She said, you didn't know? I went public. My friends told me it's a great time to get the little guy into the market, so I hired a midget. For a broker, he's kind of weird. I said to him last week I won 100 shares at AT&T. He said, excuse me, boss, could you spell that? I invested in 20% utilities. Try to catch up. 20% in utilities, 30% in oil, and 100% in hot. He suggested a mutual fund, one that has no load. After investing in it, neither does my wallet. I needed more money, so I went to a local bank and asked the loan officer for one of those big, safe, friendly, easy to qualify for loans. He said, what, are you a comedian? I said, yes, I am. He said, well, who writes your material? I said, the guy who writes your ads. I don't feel bad about not getting a loan, because last week I made $10,000 in the market. I tripped in Safeway and sued. I'm Robert Allen saying, see you next week.
Our next speaker, he's not only a fantastic marionette artist, he's also the best Siegfried impersonator here in Las Vegas. The only difference between him and the real Siegfried is about $50 million. Slight difference. Please welcome Anthony Reyes.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Anthony Reyes. I'm a puppeteer, a magician, and a Siegfried impersonator. But above all, I was a friend of Robert Allen. He was a dear friend whom I shall miss all the days of my life. Each of us knew and loved Robert in a different capacity, as a magician, a mind reader, a hypnotist, a musician, comedian, entrepreneur, actor, etc., etc. The list was endless as each theme morphed into another venture. Robert lived his life with a passion. The world was his stage, and he excelled in every role that he played. He possessed an uncanny ability to make people laugh, and his humor was our gift. Robert was a perfectionist in everything that he did, and it was most evident in his clothes that he wore. I was also always so flattered when he would comment on my ensemble, knowing that the compliment came from a true fashionista. Robert was elegant and always pristine. Now, Saturday night was our night out. It was movie night. It was a large soda, extra large popcorn, extra large buttered popcorn, and it was followed by a dinner and a discussion of the movie. Our group consisted of Robert and Deborah, Richard and Lynn Faverty, my wife Marion, and yours truly, the Big Six. Now let me back this up. Our movie plans usually began early in the week with a flurry of emails as to which movie was available, what time was convenient, and what movie the Big Six could finally agree on. The emails were endless as the guys wanted to see an action movie and the girls preferred romance. Robert would say, not another sappy one, please. We had movie nights that the guys and girls could not come to an agreement. So we went to different movies and met in the lobby, everyone talking at the same time about how much they enjoyed their choice. However, there were nights we hated the movie. And Robert would just roll his eyes back and would say, well, that was 2.5 wasted hours of our lives. Then Deborah and Lynn would look at me and whisper, sit Marion next to Robert at the dinner so he can stop his movie rants and go into comedy, as Marion was his greatest captive audience and truly reveled in his humor. Occasionally, Robert would silence the group with news of a new venture in the planning stages. His ideas never ceased to amaze me as they seemed so outrageous, and at the time I could not even imagine they would even come into fruition. But not long after, the Big Six were on a tour of his latest escapade. After we were seated in the van, Robert would make his entrance and greet us. His persona was instantly transformed from Robert, my friend, to the authoritative tour director, completely versed in every aspect of the tour. In fact, I caught myself asking him questions and again was amazed at his command of the subject matter. Robert never acted out his parts. He took ownership of the parts, and he was the real deal. Early in our friendship, I received a call from Robert inviting Marion and me to the famous Super Bowl party at his home. Now, this was a party reserved for the family and his closest of friends, and I was thrilled to be part of it. This was his baby, and he was the chef in charge. His specialty was Robert's famous chili, a recipe that he had formulated over the years. When he learned that Marion and I were vegetarians for the past 36 years, he surprised us with a meatless version of the recipe, which later became a staple of his party menu. He must have driven Deborah crazy, having her sample the recipe over and over and over until he was satisfied with the results. once again, a true perfectionist. Robert never missed a cue. But his final curtain call came much too soon. Well, Robert, I guess the next time we meet, it'll probably be by the pearly gates. I can see this whole scenario. Robert standing there with a white top hat and a white morning jacket, right next to a white winged van with a big sign that reads, "Welcome to Robert Allen's Heavenly Tours." I shall miss and love you all the days of my life. Thank you, Robert, for being my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Included on Robert's list of accomplishments, all of these accomplishments, mentalism. He co-produced an annual convention with our next guest. This guy's traveled all the way from Pennsylvania to be here today, so please welcome Danny Archer.
Hi everyone, my name's Danny, and I first met Robert Allen in the late 90s when he hired me to perform at magic conventions that he was producing in Colorado where I lived. After 2 years of producing conventions and losing a lot of money, he said, I can't do it anymore. And I said, instead of doing a convention in Colorado, why don't you do it in Las Vegas, a place people actually want to go to? He says, you join me as co-producer and I'll do it. And we did. We started with a close-up convention, then we added the mentalism convention, and Robert and I have produced over 20 conventions together. The last mentalism convention was just a month ago in Las Vegas, and the next one will happen next November. But I want to tell you a story, because Robert had the best stories. And I want to tell you, because you all know him from being right here in Las Vegas, I want to tell you the story about how Robert got to Las Vegas. So set the Wayback Machine for the late 70s. Robert's a magician. He's performing at the world-famous Magic Castle in Hollywood when there's a knock on the door. A guy says, Robert, Lucille Ball's out there. She just saw your act. She loved you. She wants to talk to you. Robert says, yeah, tell her I'll be right out. And he continues to read the newspaper, figuring it's a joke. Magicians are famous for practical jokes. A couple minutes goes by, the guy knocks again. He says, Robert, I'm not kidding you. Lucy's out there. She has to go, but she wants to talk to you. He says, if I come out there, I swear she's out there. So Robert goes out there, and lo and behold, there's Lucille Ball sitting with her manager. She invites him, he sits down, they order a drink, and he says, Lucy's bomb. She's smashed. But she's very complimentary. She claps him on the back. He says, you're a funny guy. She goes, I don't know about that magic crap. I would think twice about that, but you're a funny guy. And they have a drink together, and she says to him, give your business card to my manager. Maybe we can come up with something for you. Robert says, why not? He gives her the card, and then a week goes by, another week goes by, and he forgets all about it. About 6-7 weeks later, the phone rings. It's Lucy's manager. She says, he says, I have a job for you in Las Vegas. And Robert says, Las Vegas? I don't know if I want to go to Las Vegas. The manager says, it's 6 weeks of work, $2,500 a week. Robert says, when do I start? He gives him the details. Robert puts all his stuff in storage. He has to do 2 15-minute acts in a comedy, do comedy magic spot in a review show. He drives to Las Vegas. He's excited. He goes out for his very first show in a showroom probably much like this and does his 15-minute comedy magic act. He gets off stage. The manager of the theater comes over and he says, kid, you sucked. You're fired. Robert says, I'm fired. Do I finish out the week? He said, finish out the week. You do the second show, then you're out of here. He goes back to the dressing room. He says he's sitting, he's looking in the mirror. He's dejected. He has no work for the next 6 weeks. He's turned down all work. What's he going to do? How's he going to survive? But now they knock on the door, they said, "You're on in 10 minutes." He starts to get his act ready and he says, "I'm gonna do what Lucy says," and he forgets his act. He leaves it behind. He goes out and like Don Rickles, he has fun with the audience, they're laughing, and the 15 minutes flies by. He comes off stage, the manager comes up to him and says, "Kid, that was great. Why didn't you do that the first show? You're rehired." Robert says, "I'm rehired." He says, "Yeah, but not for 6 weeks. I replaced you in between shows. Come back in 6 weeks, you got a job." So Robert returned in 6 weeks, and he did the gig, and he then went on to headline and perform in Las Vegas for the next 30-something years. One of my favorite stories about Robert Allen. The Mentalism Convention that we started together will continue, and we have an award that we give to our guest of honor, and that award will now be renamed the Robert Allen Memorial Award. Thanks, Robert, for all you do for everyone. Thank you all.
Thanks, Danny, for sharing that story. I remember Robert telling me that one time, same story. He loved telling of his experiences. I want to pause this for a second again for another quick commercial.
Yo, Bugsy, it says here they got something called the Vegas Mob Tour.
Yeah, Bobby, ain't you heard? It's all about our old friends, Sam Giancana, Meyer Lansky, Mo Davis, and of course yours truly, Bugsy Siegel.
Are you kidding? A mob tour about us?
Yeah, they take you to where we used to hang out and to all the places where we used to do our crimes.
You mean they expose all our secrets?
Yeah, but it's okay, because we ain't around anymore. So let's face it, we can't get busted.
Hey, you think we can sneak on board and check this out?
Of course we can. Forget about it. They'll never even know we're there.
When I was a tour guide for Robert, he used to say to me, "Push the merch, push the merch. You have to sell t-shirts, you have to sell books, key tags." Just want to let you guys know, on your way out tonight, there's brand new t-shirts for sale. Haunted Vegas, $20 each. We got a few used ones back there for $12. So he used to take me around with him to different places. Oh, we're gonna work on this thing. We're gonna work on that thing. And he took me to this gentleman's studio. I'm gonna bring up, and I learned a lot during those visits. And I had an opportunity to make another great friend. So please welcome Robert's best friend here, Richard Faverty.
Thanks for getting my name right. Well, hi. So I met Robert 25 years ago. We were in a show together. I was Professor Bubbles, and well, he did everything. The name of the show was Magic and More, and I was just blown away. Like, Robert, he came out, he was the MC, then he came back and he was a stand-up comic, and then he came back a little later and he did a hypnotism act, and then he came back a little later, and oh my gosh, he did a Bobby Rock number. He was a rock and roll musician, and he danced and sang like this guy from the 1950s. The last time I saw Robert, he gave me the terrible news about the diagnosis from the doctor, and in the midst of tears, he sat up and he said, "Remember that time on that tour in Canada? We were in Edmonton and we bought Speedos and we went to the Edmonton Mall and took a picture by the pool." I said, yeah, I remember that. And he says, "Yeah, you know what? I think I've still got that Speedo somewhere." And then he says, "You know, it still fits my right foot." And so that was the last laugh that I unfortunately shared with Robert. After the show, there was a 10-year period where I didn't see so much from him. A few times a year when my wife Lynn and I would come out to Vegas. But finally in 2001, I kind of gave up being Professor Bubbles and went back to what I really knew how to do, which was being a photographer. And I opened up a studio in 2001, and boy, was I in for a shock. Right away when I got here, are you doing this pictures? Anyway, right away when I got here, we started hanging out again together. And one of the first things that Robert wanted to do, he had this idea for a show called Shock. And something never been done in Las Vegas before. And his idea was to present, how would you say it, performers with unusual talents. And of course, that's great for me. Back in the 70s, I was a freak photographer for the National Enquirer, so I really, I was looking forward to it. All of a sudden, he puts together a show and he starts bringing all these people through my studio. We had some eclectic dancers, and then, of course, he got this guy, David Smith from San Francisco, a flexible guitar player, and he found Stephanie, who swallowed real razor blades and regurgitated them, Ron Keck, who put rats in his mouth, and what show would be complete without a girl with a tarantula coming out of her mouth. And of course, then we got in with Tim Cridlin, Zamora, who ate everything from glass light bulbs to fire. And he became really the star of the show. But it wasn't enough, But my wife always said Shock was the only show that she ever watched the whole show with her eyes covered with her hands. And you can probably see why. Well, he expanded Shock to include a tour, which became the Haunted Vegas tour. And that was real successful. He was sending out 2 buses a night of tourists. And it was fantastic, but that wasn't enough. So he did the Vegas Mob Tour, and that eventually became a Haunted Mob Tour. And then he met Frank Collada, and recently they did the Casino Tour, and they both got ordained to be ministers so they could marry people for the mob. And another thing you probably never would have seen is the Comedy Jail Bus Tour. And he found a guy who had a bus that took Charles Manson to prison, and Charles had etched his name on the back of one of the seats, and of course, Jack Hayden was helpful in that. For me, the best thing that Robert ever produced that I saw was his seance room. It combined his knowledge of the paranormal with his knowledge of magic. It was the best tricked out magic seance room I've ever heard of. He had a small storefront, and he made it out like a Victorian parlor, and it was fantastic. Ariane Black ran the seance sometimes, Victoria ran the seance other times, and sometimes he did. And one of his favorite stories was about one night in the beginning when they only had 3 people in the audience, and he was, I'll do it anyway, and he goes out, and it's people in the audience are his famous magic prop builder Bill Smith, and the magician Steve Wyrick, and another magician, David Copperfield. And so he kind of bumbled his way through the whole thing. But when that died, he and Carl Wood got together, and they put another show in there called Lesbian Diaries, and that eventually became My Secret Diaries, starred Joan Decor, and ultimately Kathleen Dunbar got involved in the final iteration of it, and it was all fantastic. You want to know how Robert came up with the ideas for all these tours? Well, he talked to people. He went to the Pioneer Saloon in Good Springs.
Hello, I'm Noel Shekels, the owner of the Pioneer Saloon in downtown Good Springs, Nevada.
And I'm Robert Allen, the owner of the Haunted Vegas Tour. I'm also starting the Good Springs Ghost Hunt. Right, Noel?
That's right, and we're excited about it. If you want to hunt ghosts, this is the place to come.
Well, from talking to Knowles, who owned the saloon, until he had a tour up and running, a ghost hunt up and running, that was only about 2 months. And ever since he started that ghost hunt, it's been rated time and time again as the #1 ghost hunt in the United States. It was really quite spectacular. And so I know, I'm talking about projects that I worked on with Robert, but you can see they were all fun. We laughed so much, and we had such a good time together. And what can I tell you about my relationship with Robert? He was a dear friend. We shared everything. He knew more about me than just about anybody but my wife, maybe even more than my wife, when I think of it. And when one of us was down, the other was there to cheer him up. And one of us had a victory, we both celebrated. I spent endless hours with Robert. We traveled around Las Vegas, around the state of Nevada, around the whole United States, and in fact all the way around the world. We were dear friends. My wife and Deborah were dear friends, and I treasure every minute that I spent with Robert. over the years. And the last project that I was working on with him was an intro to his new YouTube channel. So, it's not really complete, but I thought it might be interesting for you to see and hear what Robert had to say about his own life. If you can play that.
My name is Robert George Allen, and I live in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I started out working in the Vegas show lounges in the 1970s and eventually worked my way up to the main showrooms. As a guitarist, vocalist, stage magician, and stand-up comedian, I've appeared in over 30 Las Vegas production shows and opened for more than 25 major stars. Along the way, I even got to act in a few Hollywood movies. I've been a game show host, talk show host, and motivational speaker. My quest for adventure has taken me to over 85 countries where I've met and experienced many wonderful people and have done some pretty wild things. Some people think I'm a little crazy, but hey, what's life without a little risk? I'm a mob historian and a paranormal investigator. I've also authored 2 popular books with another one on the way. My 5-star rated tour company is listed on the 18 best tours in Las Vegas and continues to garner rave reviews. You may think all this excitement has left me totally exhausted, but hey, gang, I'm just getting started.
So his enthusiasm, you can just feel it. For those of you who knew him as a musician or a magician or a paranormal investigator or a mob historian or a boss, you were very fortunate. But if you knew him as I did, as your very best friend, you were truly blessed. And Robert, I know you're out here today. You wouldn't miss an event like this. I just want to say I miss you.
Thanks, Richard. No one knew Robert better than his family. They saw a side of him that no one else did. Before I introduce one of his daughters, let's take a look into the personal family archives. Don't miss the love that you see in this video.
Look, he's kissing you now. He's kissing me? Oh, honey, I see honey.
Can the beast good?
No, don't bite me, and don't put this on Facebook.
Too late. I found this on Facebook, Robert. In our culture, father-daughter relationships are warm and charming. With Heather and Robert, this far surpasses that. I introduce to you now Robert's daughter, Heather Campbell.
Hi. So I am here to talk about my experience with an amazing man. He was never limited by his circumstance, surroundings, or financial situations. He was a pursuer of dreams. If he had a dream in his heart, he found a determined way to bring it to life. He was so many things, as everyone has heard. He was accomplished in magic, comedian, mentalist, writer, musician, producer, actor, and so much more. But to me, he was the most important thing. He was my dad. Sorry. As a kid, he actually brought me to this hotel every weekend. Then it was Vegas World, owned by Bob Stupak, and he was the opening comedic act. I would sit in the audience and they would announce, coming to the stage, the amazing Robert Allen. A spotlight would hit his face and the audience would light up with laughter and applaud. My feelings of pride and wonderment for him did not shut off when that spotlight did. He was always lit up in my eyes. He was my idol and my courage. He was who I turned to for words of strength and encouragement. He always believed in me and that I was going to be something amazing. He was determined of that. For me, a 5-minute conversation with my dad would give me the strength, inspiration, and courage to take on the world. He has always been that voice in my head pushing me through, and his words will now forever be etched in my heart. There has never been a time when I saw my dad and I wasn't greeted with a big hug, a kiss, and an I love you, usually followed up with an inappropriate joke to make me laugh. As a child, he did. He always made me laugh. We had so much fun together, no matter what we did. He always made it a memory that I will cherish forever. That was my dad, funny, energetic, passionate, determined, and full of life and love. There is a song lyric that I will end my speech with that I'd like to say to my dad because it holds true to my heart. If you get there before I do, don't give up on me. I will meet you when my chores are through. I don't know how long I'll be, but I'm not gonna let you down. Daddy, wait and see. And between now and then, until I see you again, I'll be loving you. Love me. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Heather. When Heather was a little girl, Robert was appearing on a TV show called Live from Las Vegas. He liked to use her on the show as a feature. So let's take a look at a few clips from the show. Watch for Heather's early acting career. She's the little blonde girl, the cutest one on there.
It's time once again to go out on location and check out some of the interesting and fun places in Las Vegas. This is my favorite part of the show. Really, Blaze, man? This is when I get to have my snack. Well, while you're snacking, let's join our local, live from Las Vegas, color commentator on location, Robert Allen. Go for it, Robert. or so. No, I'm running on location. All right.
A lot of fathers have favorite daughters. Robert had 2 of them. Here's the other one. Please welcome Melissa Danielson.
Dad, from the moment I met you at Crystal Palace skating rink, you were totally hands-on, teaching us how to roller skate. I was holding onto your belt buckles, rolling around. And then amazingly, we kept running into you at Sunset Park, like every weekend. I didn't know this was pre-planned. All I cared about was I got to see my best friend, Heather. So it made it all worth it. We went to Magic Mountain as a family at first, and we did lots of ski trips in Hawaii and Mexico, even a motorhome all the way around the United States, which me and Heather were not fond of at the time because we were way too cool. But you wanted us to know things like history. You wanted us to try new foods. You taught us so much. You mentored me. You gave me lots of advice, and you defended me when people were mean. You looked out for me. I even pretended to like football. I would research it before I'd come over just to connect with you. Go Bears. I looked up to you because you were a visionary. You had an amazing work ethic. Your ideas were always amazing. You came up with stuff off the cuff. You never quit. And if I asked you to talk about lettuce for 15 minutes, you totally could. You could do anything. You had that talent. If you were still here, we'd be watching The Godfather epic, having popcorn on your couch. You changed my life so much, and you were such a good influence. You always told me that I danced to the beat of a different drummer. I loved our playfulness. You would fall asleep on the couch, and me and Jason would change the TV station from what you were watching. When you woke up, you were all confused, and you look around, and we just laughed our asses off. My favorite prank, though, was putting that plastic dinosaur in the toilet. So when you and Mom would wake up in the middle of the night and go pee or poop, you'd sit on the dinosaur, and you'd start screaming, and we would laugh hysterically. Then you used to make fun of my rainbow sweater, and you'd call me the Polish princess. You couldn't stand it when I put ketchup on my macaroni and cheese, so of course I really enjoyed doing that. You were so good to Tanner and Emily. I loved more than anything seeing your connection with them. Emily adored her papa. Christmas won't be the same without you. You sitting at the head of the table making your Italian mafia jokes, dressing up as Santa for the kids. I miss having you around. We already took a trip without you, and we forgot everything and had to go home, and we didn't know where the best place to get gasoline was, and all that stuff would have been on track if you were there. I love you. I always knew that you wanted the best for all of us. I hope that you were with Jason and that you were at peace. Please send me signs when you're around. Our sign will be the Bears logo. When I see it, I know that you will be with me. Goodbye for Dad. Goodbye for now, Dad. I love you.
That was beautiful, Melissa. Thank you. Every married man has a wonderful woman in his life. Robert was definitely no exception. They shared many wonderful memories of their travels and experiences. To make every experience an adventure, you need two of the right people, Robert and Deborah. So, ladies and gentlemen, Deborah Danielson.
Well, on July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon and took man's first step. My beloved husband, Robert, was just 23 years old at that time, and he was fascinated by the impact of a moon landing and the moonwalk of Neil Armstrong. You might have had a familiar feeling if you remember that day many years ago. What's so fascinating about it is those footsteps that Neil Armstrong left still are there, exactly as they were 47 years ago today. Scientists tell us that for at least 10,000 more years, they will remain. And the reason is there's no atmosphere on the moon, there's no wind, there's no rain, there's nothing to disturb them. Each of you leaves your footprints, not only where you walk, but how you live. As you know, Robert has left the world, but his footprints remain, and they're right here on this stage, where he performed many, many years. His footprints will also remain in our hearts and our lives for as long as we live. And the same is true of each one of you. You leave your footprints in the hearts and minds of those you love, and hopefully those footprints will last forever. When I planned this celebration of life for Robert, I thought it was only fitting that he would be in this showroom. This is the hotel that he performed in many times and where I met him, and his career spent a lot of time here. He had the one-man show, as you've heard, called the Robert Allen Show, where he performed an hour of comedy and then finished each night with a guitar playing the William Tell Overture. I met Robert on my dad's birthday, January 19th, 1986, at the Crystal Palace skating rink, where I had my kids and he had his daughter. And he gave me his real estate business card. He didn't think I'd take him seriously if he gave me his comedian entertainment card, and he's probably right. Of course, being a good businesswoman, I put him on my Danielson Financial Group prospect list. And in February, I invited him to a Valentine's Day party at my office that had a live jazz band, cocktails, and hors d'oeuvres. And he said that's why he came to the party. And we've been together ever since. One of the first questions I really had to ask him was, "Do you have a passport?" And to which he said, "No." And I said, "You need to get one." Our first trip together was Rio de Janeiro. A little bit different than going to the weekend in LA, but over the past 30 years, we've traveled to 85 countries together, and we've shared some amazing memories. We even have a big silverback gorilla trekking trip to Rwanda and Uganda planned for July of next year. It was something that we really look forward to. So I think I'm gonna have to bring a few of his ashes there so that he can complete that last trip with me. We had a blended family. Our children were 6, 7, and 9 years old. We had a very special chemistry and a true love affair. It was funny, many of our friends, even after all these years, said, "Guys, get a room. Do you ever quit holding hands?" No, we didn't. Although we were very different, I guess opposites do attract, but we did have many common interests. He could be a star in his world, and I could be a star in mine, and we never had to compete. We often talked about how different our worlds were, though. Mine is facts and precision. His is flamboyancy and bullshit. He corrected me, though. He said, "Entertainers don't bullshit. They just embellish their stories." He never wanted to retire or to slow down, and he didn't. He was busy right up to the day that he died. We accidentally found out from another test that he had stage 4 pancreatic and liver cancer. We had no idea. And they told us he had 6 to 12 months to live. We both decided that we were really going to fast track our time together, and we were going to make these holidays really, really special. But unfortunately, he died 12 days later. If you think you were shocked to hear the news, you can't even imagine mine. He planned on working a private tour on October 29th, the day he died, even though he had his first biopsy the day before. And I said, are you sure you can do it? And he said, "Of course I can. The show must go on." And that's the way he was. So many of his friends have called and written, and even here today, And I've deeply appreciated that. And so many of them have shared that that Robert gave them their first job in Las Vegas, that I'm just astounded. I've heard it so many times that I'm beginning to think that he must have employed half of Las Vegas in one of his companies at one time or another. He was a serial entrepreneur. Just with the shows that he produced in the time I was with him, I've been through 28 different shows. Life is short, and tomorrow is not promised. So please spread your love upon one another today. Robert was loved and adored by his friends, his family, and his fans. He was truly a man of many talents. Robert performed in show business for over 55 years, making people laugh. And with the time we were together, I never stopped laughing. And if you were with Robert now, you'd be laughing too. As our afternoon comes to an end, you'll be walking out of this showroom on the very floor that Robert walked on. And you won't see his footprints. They're not visible to the human eye, but they're there in our hearts and in our minds. And I hope from this day forward that you will be leaving footprints of joy, happiness, and encouragement to all of those that are important in your life. When we finish the show today at what was called Vegas World, I think it's only fitting that Robert play the William Tell Overture for you, and to close his final finale of the show with it. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, everything must come to an end. I want to say thank you for coming, attending. As you exit to the theater, please sign the guest book if you haven't done so, and place your memory sheets in the box that's by the door. There's a box on one side for cards, and there's another box for these memory sheets that are on the table. So please put them in the boxes on your way out. Don't forget to take the marble from Father Charlie. If you'd like one as a keepsake, there's 2 bowls of them there. Robert closed every show he did, as Deborah said, by playing the William Tell Overture. So, Robert, one more finale for you. We're going to watch this phenomenal talent.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.